This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning into the program. It's Friday, August the 8th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly. David Williams. He's producing the Come On With an edition of the program. So if you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial to get in the queue and on the air, 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which of course is 86-26, so she got it done. 18-year-old Toronto native Vicky Mboko, National Bank Open champion. Amazing stuff. A 3-set thriller yesterday over Naomi Osaka, who's a 4-time Grand Slam winner. It's her first title on the WTA and a 1,000-level event at that. First Canadian ever to beat 3 Grand Slam winners in the same event. She came into the year ranked outside the top 300 players in the world. She came into the event ranked 85th in the world. Now she's going to be 24th in the world when the ratings are updated, I guess, on Monday. So congratulations to her. Pretty exciting stuff. Oh, Ben Shelton won on the men's side. I watched the match. It was amazing. She lost 6-2 in the first set and came back to win it all. 6-1 in the third. Just pounded Osaka. And talk about sore losers. Usually when you hear from tennis players after a final, they're very gracious. First thing out of their mouths, congratulate their opponent and their team. It's all very cut and dry, or copy and paste. Last night, Osaka never even mentioned Mbako in front of her home fans. No congratulations, no nothing. Thanked her coaches and the ball boys. Hope you had a nice night. Bye. So pretty bad luck there. But anyway, congratulations to young Mboko, 18 years old, WTA 1000 event winner. All right, Canada Summer Games, here we go. Now, there's going to be some traffic snarls, and we'll try to give you some information as it becomes available about where you may indeed see a snarl or where indeed there might be some roads closed. But there's an opportunity today to welcome the athletes from Newfoundland and Labrador on their way to the Athletes Village. So they're going to congregate at Waterford Valley High in the parking lot, hop on the bus and make their way to the Athletes Village, which is at Memorial's campus, obviously, Memorial University. So they'll be there around 4 o'clock. I think they're leaving Waterford Valley around 10 to 4, so we'll see how quickly you can get there. But you have a chance to welcome the athletes, the coaches, and the mission staff as they begin their games journey. So hopefully it's a roaring success, and hopefully the weather conditions cooperate. Let's get into it. So you don't need to tell me, need me to tell you about the wildfire situation. It is pretty dark out there. There's smoke with a low cloud ceiling here this morning. Very smoky. You certainly can smell it distinctly right outside of our studio and probably where you live today. So there's a bunch of stuff here. So apparently there's going to be some federal support in the form of military and Coast Guard, which has been granted by Ottawa. Good. We talked yesterday about the potential to jack up the fines for people ignoring the fire ban. And I will concede, people like having a fire. That's why I have a fire pit in my backyard. But at this moment in time, it's probably 100% ill-advised to do anything like that. So the fine was $75. I heard the Premier yesterday, and I thought it was a slip of the tongue because I was listening to the radio after I left the building yesterday. Maximum of $50,000 fine. So beyond doing the right thing and not having a fire, a $50,000 fine, I don't think they've figured it out insofar as the legislation goes quite yet. But that's a huge sum of money, so let's just all try to do the right thing. All right, couple of quick notes. So when we talk about personal responsibility, I've seen this floating around on social media. I've been tagged several times about exactly this. So it's a video coming from a dash cam in a car, following along this little silver sedan, and they're slowing down, looking at the smoke in the Heart's Content Barons. While this is all going on, and you can see the smoke quite clearly in the video, the driver of the vehicle, just out of the blue, sticks his arm out the window and flicks what? His cigarette butt out. I mean, maybe people are just oblivious, or maybe it's just the habits that people get into, including myself. But we just can't do that. Just think about the people who have been evacuated and the people who are fighting these fires. And there it was, plain as day, watching the smoke, driving down the highway, out the window goes the cigarette butt. Let's try to not be at that. A couple of notes regarding water bombers. So we can talk about the fact that the province did not deal with the 5th water bomber that was damaged back in 2018. Absolutely fair conversation to be had. And it's good to know that New Brunswick has sent over 3 water bombers and the feds are involved. But when you're in an area where the water bombers are trying to refill, it's pretty important for recreational boaters to just stay away. Because, of course, there's going to be things like ocean swells or potential waves even in a big lake. But even the wake left behind by your boat can be a problem, so I'm told by a water bomber pilot. So this was a message they wanted me to pass on, and we certainly appreciate the work they're doing on that front. For all the volunteers who are working on these issues, whether it be with receiving evacuees and or working with the wildfire suppression crews, how about some retailers around the province? If they can provide their ID as a volunteer firefighter, let's give them some discounts. Let's do something here. Because this is a lot. I'm hearing from people who are working their full day on their job to then go suit up and tackle a wildfire as a volunteer. So maybe the retail sector can maybe consider, let's just show them our appreciation. It's not that long ago. People were standing on their front porch banging on pots and pans in appreciation for the so-called frontline worker and or truckers or whatever the case may be. Maybe these volunteers could use a little help as well. Last one on the fires. We could take it on from any angle that you're so inclined. Is for the police who are investigating the suspicious nature of some of these fires, let's help them too. Because just imagine knowing how dry it is, and you don't have to be a meteorologist to understand how dry it is. All you have to do is walk outside. If there's people purposely setting these fires, what starts out as a small brush fire can become an enormous wildfire and see people evacuated, lose their homes, and potentially harm to human life. Maybe someone's going to die. So if you know who's starting fires, call anonymously. Call Crime Stoppers, do something. Because this is outrageous. It really, truly is. I'm bombarded with emails on the same sentiment. If you want to take it on, let's go. And of course, communication and a one-stop shop for information during these types of events is critically important. We've had many conversations on the program regarding cell phone service here, and it's deteriorated notably in many parts of the province. There's obviously lots of dead spots, period. There has been a ruling by the telecommunications regulator, the CRTC, about shared infrastructure. We didn't know whether or not the federal government would amend it or abide by it, but they're not going to amend it at all. So the big players are going to have to provide service to customers using their fiber network built by their rivals, as long as it's outside their core service area. This is important stuff. I mean, we talk about monopolies in this country, whether it be in the grocery business and or the telecom business or whatever the case may be. The opportunity to have more and more competition to potentially reduce our rates, which are extraordinarily high compared to the rest of the G20, we'll say. This is probably a very good ruling. Now, we can expand the conversation to a pilot project last year down the Burgeo Highway to ensure that it's a Wi-Fi hotspot for all the right reasons. There's 10 more of these areas going to be covered this year. I'm having a devil of a time finding out exactly what 10 they are. But how do we actually put pressure on the big telecom companies? Because I'm frustrated like you. There's parts of the city of St. John's, the capital city in a province in Canada, where I can't get cell phone coverage. It's remarkable. So we can talk about 5G or the number of people who are using particular towers, what have you. But in these emergency situations, these potential crisis situations, we're paying pretty hefty bills for spotty coverage. And for some people listening to the program this morning, they can drive 10 minutes away from their home and have zero coverage. So we can take it on. But good on Ottawa for holding up that CRTC ruling on that front. Okay, well, 1 second. I get this quick sip of coffee. All right, we're back. Mentioned yesterday that there's comments coming from the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary Association regarding the fact that they need more police officers to have a full complement. When we talk about the number of officers per 100,000 citizens, and we can break it down. I didn't think it was untoward to talk about it because at the exact same time, when polled and when asked, people feel less safe. The Stats Canada numbers show that crime has increased in this province. The cops themselves talk about more calls for gun calls, home invasions, serious assaults, the drug-related issues in the province. But at the same time, when I mention what is simply coming from the association, is what about other disciplines that are part of criminal justice and maybe in crime prevention? Social workers was one discipline that was mentioned to me. Of course. You know, whether it be a shortage or gaps in the system, whether we're talking about healthcare or criminal justice, and or prevention of crime, absolutely. We're not ignoring one set of professionals or another. Absolutely not. In fact, we've had people representing social workers on this show, which operate across the gamut. In so many different areas of life, social workers are an important cog in the wheel. So I'm not trying to ignore one group or another, because when we identify a shortage, we all need to put forward our voices to ensure that the political pressure is brought to bear so that these things are shored up, whether it be the shortage in social workers, the demand on the social workers, the caseload that they carry, the shortage of psychologists here in the province. There's a lot of areas that we can focus in on, and including education. Had a good chat with Dale Lamb, the new president of the NLTA. Talk about the monies put forward for some additional 400 professionals working in the K-12 system. It is, of course, the summer months, and people are loath to want to talk about fast-tracking back into school, which is right around the corner. So we can absolutely take that on from any angle as you see fit today. Oh, speaking of back to school, wanted to make sure I get this out there. Today is Block the Bus Today. 12 to 4 at the Village Shopping Centre in the parking lot, all in support of the Single Parent Association of Newfoundland and Labrador. Daniel Seward from the association has been on the show, the morning show, a couple times this week. The numbers of people asking for support, for supplies to go back to school is overwhelming. Focusing on whatever age group that you like, but certainly in the older students, whether it be highlighters or things that they may indeed need to go back to school. It's amazing I hang my head on the highlighter thing because I heard Danielle say it. So if you have the capacity, if you have the resources, and you're in and around the Village Shopping Centre between 12 and 4 today, please do indeed drop off some school supplies. Isn't it something else? Isn't it quite a dire statement to know that hundreds and hundreds of families in the province, they don't have what it takes to send their kids back to school? And that's not a condemnation or a criticism. That's a reality. So there's hundreds of people hoping for your support here today. So if you can, and if you're around, please do indeed consider making that type of donation to the Single Parent Association so we can block the bus and get kids set up for back to school. All right. Had an interesting email, and I thought a very thoughtful one, regarding how the province spends money on every front. But this one was about the Boston office. It's a good question. I don't know if we have a status update available at this moment in time. I think it's probably a pretty good idea if we are in areas where we're trying to expand opportunities or partnerships. And on this front, it was all about economic partnerships, which obviously is important. But at the exact same time, and I'll put this out there again, other provinces in the country are doing the same thing, but they're not only talking about economic opportunity, they're talking about recruiting and actively and ferociously trying to recruit healthcare professionals. British Columbia is at it. They're talking about fast-tracking a credential so that you can be boots on the ground very soon after you arrive in the country. We do know that there's some conversation regarding healthcare professionals in the United States, academics in the United States, and the possibility for them to bring their expertise and their professionalism to this country. So I am going to try to get a status update from that Boston office. You know, we can talk about the money that it costs to operate that office, but what the returns might look like are probably pretty important. So we'll see if we can't get you something on that front. Oh, so yesterday we talked about the gift card scams. And some people say, hey, Paddy, everyone knows. Well, apparently not everyone does know, because there's reports of upwards of $4 million of gift card fraud reported just last year. And that's only scratching the surface. Not everybody's going to report this. Now there's a story in the news today about Costco gift cards. So apparently these are digital cards. I think they're called a shop card. Costco doesn't accept every credit card. I don't think they accept Visa, right? I try not to go to Costco. My wife goes. We buy from Costco. So apparently people are loading up these digital cards, and lo and behold, they go to use them and they're drained. There's legislation covering a lot of things like credit card fraud and debit card fraud. But for these massive companies like Costco to have to fight them, because it's not your control. They're the one that sold you the card. It should be up to them to ensure that the card is full when you go to use it after you put a couple $100 on it or whatever. People are fighting for refunds. It's a bad look. It just is a bad look. And on that front, I do have a bunch of people, talking about the amount of shoplifting that goes on and people being stopped and asked to show the receipt and open their bag and all that kind of stuff after they've used a self-checkout. If you want to use a self-checkout, fill your boots. I'm hopefully going to be on the side where, look, if I have one item and there is one cashier open with a line of 4 people, I might indeed scan my Honeycrisp apple or put it on the scale and off I go. But I do think that level of customer service is eroding right before us. And again, if you like using the self-checkout, good for you. But, there's a lot of jobs. I think if you count up the amount of retail outlets across the country, and yes, it doesn't require a job for people to install and to maintain these types of self-checkout systems, but I get a lot of people pretty passionate on that one. And last one, the whole buy local business. I mean, everyone was on board. Not everyone. A lot of people were on board with the buy domestic at one point, whether it be made in Canada or product of Canada. Is that still ongoing, or has that kind of slipped people's attention when they go to the shop? I think it maybe has, but anyway. All right, last two. We can get into the trade negotiations and all the 35% tariff and all that stuff, but I see a lot of people on social media talking about what we are or are not doing in this country, insofar as the Prime Minister goes, regarding fighting back, or the old foolish catchphrases of elbows up. The reciprocal tariff bit, are we really thinking that that's the best idea? I mean, if there were some additional expenses associated with the export of energy, whether it be oil or hydroelectricity, or whether it be potash, whatever, I get that. I understand that conversation. But the base misunderstanding in many people's minds about these tariffs is making it very difficult to understand if we're on the right track or not. A tariff imposed by Canada on the import of American goods is paid by the importer. Right? It's the base understanding of how that actually works here. Countries don't pay them, importers pay them. So if we bring in whatever from the United States, and the person or the entity, the company that imports it, pays a tariff on it, some of it might be gobbled up by the importer. Some of it might be reduced prices based on manufacturing coming from the United States. But by and large, that's just an additional expense. So as opposed to doing everything possible to find different and expand into different markets, which is probably the right thing to do here, is just imposing a bunch of new tariffs is not really doing a whole lot insofar as furthering the opportunity for a trade deal. I don't know if we're on the right track or not. We don't have much in the way of updates from the federal government here. Maybe it's best done in quasi-silence, but begging for more and higher tariffs imposed by this country is just kind of asking for higher prices for a bunch of things. So that's ongoing. Very last one, I promise. Couple of difficult conversations this week, including one such conversation yesterday. And that has made its way into, I'll say hundreds of emails overnight. And I try to reply to most. And that's about jobs and who's taking jobs and how jobs are supported by the federal government. We had a conversation with a Conservative member of Parliament yesterday, Garrett Genius, and talking about employment numbers regarding youth in this country. And the numbers are high, no doubt about it. And then it's the thought that people are being paid by the federal government to take these jobs, temporary foreign workers. The federal government doesn't subsidize temporary foreign workers. They just don't. There's tons of job programs out there, and we can break it down into this province. And look, if you can show me something that says that I'm on the wrong track or I don't have the right information, I'm happy to do it, and I will correct myself happily here on the show. But there's no direct federal wage subsidy for a temporary foreign worker. It's just not a thing. In this province, there are wage subsidies. A wage subsidy of up to 12 hours for 28 weeks within a 42-week employment period, a 60% subsidy for the first 14 weeks, and an 80% subsidy for the last 14 weeks. That program is tailored to Canadian citizens and permanent residents, temporary residents who could be eligible if they hold certain work permits. Then there's other things: student work placement programs, $5,000 for employers who hire students, $7,000 for those who are what they call unrepresented groups, including newcomers. There's things like the Canadian citizen and immigrants eligible for the Digital Skills and Youth Young Canada Works program. They are for people who are on temporary work visas awaiting permanent residency and who are not eligible to participate. So, look, people need jobs, and we cannot allow for the private sector to play footloose and fancy-free with things like labor market impact assessments. But when it comes to federal money, specifically for a temporary foreign worker, there is no wage subsidy. So we hear it all the time, and this is not about the goods, the bads, and the hiring practices. Local companies should absolutely strive to hire people locally, of course. But when it gets lost in the swill or the swirl of social media, there's actually no wage subsidy federally for a temporary foreign worker. Just important to put it out there if you're so inclined to talk about it. We're on Twitter, or VOCM Open Line. Follow us there. Email address is openline@VOCM.com. When we come back, let's have a great show to wrap up the week. That can only happen with your participation. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go. Line number 3. Jeff, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Patty.
Good morning.
I just wanted to call in this morning because on my way to work, I witnessed two guys smoking a crack pipe, and also I took a couple of pictures. Actually, I passed an enormous. They were in this little alcove, and it was just, really littered with, I would say, at least 20 to 30 needles and all the paraphernalia that goes with it, plus garbage. Recently, there's been some discussion about, in the news, there was a guy that actually, I believe someone called in not too long ago, a child experienced the same thing, and people are starting to really voice their concern on the issue.
Like they should.
So I've been on social media, and some people have made great points about it. One of the points made is that needles and paraphernalia shouldn't be given out unless there's a designated area to use it where the use once they're finished.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? There's a bit of a breakup in our connection here this morning. Just start that point again, please.
Some people that the free needles shouldn't be given out unless place to use it, and then the needle stuff can be disposed of once they're used at a designated injection site, I guess.
So basically, you're suggesting that the best play would be a safe consumption site.
I mean, it has to go hand in hand. I mean, we can't live in a that is full of medical waste with drug addicts openly using drugs all across the metro. I mean, that's not a reasonable way to go about it, I don't think.
Yeah, no, listen, no argument. I saw a bunch of discarded needles just a couple of days ago in one of my favorite trails to walk. And, of course, it's unsettling and it's sad. So, for me, just a couple of comments, and then, of course, you can take it away. I have no earthly idea if the needles that I saw on the ground were bought, stolen, or were given out at a needle exchange program. I don't know. The thought of the safe supply of needles, or whether it be pipes or whatever the case may be, here's my point, and I've said it many times, and I'm going to stand by it, is a drug user, a drug addict using intravenous drugs, they are probably not going to make very many good decisions. So that's why they throw the needles on the ground. And if they don't have a clean needle, they'll use a dirty needle. So I get why people have concerns or have consternation associated with safe supply of things like needles. I don't condone safe supply of drugs because I don't think there's such a thing. A safe consumption site, as to your point, I think makes a lot of sense. It's the same way where you have to say, for instance, you're on methadone. You have to go to the methadone clinic, and in the appropriate approach, you have to be supervised to take your methadone as opposed to take it out on the street and sell it or whatever the case may be. So I get where you're coming from, but safe supply of things like a needle, I don't actually have a problem with. I know many people do, and I understand there are issues with it, but the drug users are going to use whatever needle they get their hands on, clean or dirty. I just think that's kind of how they operate in their minds. How about you?
Well, I think that the safe supply of needles, which is happening right now, the provincial government provides drug users, no question asked, with a full wellness kit that includes needles, crack pipes, condoms, you name it. It's quite a significant amount of gear that is available to anybody at any time at specific locations throughout the city. So the increase in discarded needles is a one-to-one relation to that. If there weren't available needles, of course, the needles that drug users did have would have more value to them, and they just wouldn't be discarded in the same way. But because there's a endless supply of free needles, what we're seeing is a tremendous increase in discarded needles, which is a public health and safety concern. So while I understand that a public health concern for people who use injectable drugs there's also a reciprocal public health concern in regular people going throughout their day-to-day that are exposed to a growing amount of discarded needles. And the city does a great job, by the way, if you call them to come clean it up. I've had to do that several times. But they just can't keep up with it. The amount of discarded needles is increasing. And so without a safe injection site where these things can be collected, I feel that the program should be stopped. That's my feeling.
Okay, I can accept that. In addition to maybe more and more needles are associated with the fact that they're free, that might indeed be part of it. I think another part of that conversation, Jeff, is more and more people who are using intravenous drugs. So I think it's both. How about you?
Drug use is on the increase. I do believe that as well. I've heard you say a lot of times before that giving out free needles prevents the transmission of bloodborne disease. I feel that if you're a hardcore intravenous drug user, your chance of having a bloodborne disease is 100%, because there will come a time when you don't have a clean needle and you use a dirty needle. And so I would say a majority of hardcore intravenous drug users are already hepatitis and HIV positive. And so the giving out of mountains of free needles really, I feel, is ineffective in that regard as well. I just don't feel like it's an effective approach. But I could accept it if there were a safe injection site where this waste could be collected once it was used. That I could live with. But right now, what's happening, I just can't live with it anymore.
I can get behind safe consumption site, and it's not only about the discarded waste like a needle. It's also maybe to prevent someone from overdosing and dying, which is part of it. I think if you look around at some of the data regarding safe supply, in this case needles, and you also mentioned condoms, which is an interesting case study, because if you look at jurisdictions where there's easy access to birth control, which is also the prevention of STDs, the numbers are way down if someone can get their hands on a condom for free, for instance. I think there's also plenty of data to support that the clean needle, the swap programs do see not an elimination of risk, because there's no such thing in this world about eliminating risk for someone who's making bad decisions as a drug addict, but there is a reduction. It's a risk mitigation strategy, as opposed to pretending that all the free needles means that no one's ever going to get hepatitis, because you're right. There are many bloodborne diseases already being carried by plenty of intravenous drug addicts. There's no doubt about that. I think the strategy is to try to reduce the risk, because how many needles can you buy for what it would cost for someone to be admitted to the hospital? Just one person with hepatitis. I think we can probably give out a lot of needles at the exact same cost as one night in the hospital for someone with hepatitis and or any other bloodborne disease. But ultimately, I'll close with this and then I'll give you the floor. I don't argue your summary point at all. Safe consumption site makes a lot of sense to me, whether it be about needles and or overdose and a variety of things. Keeping the drug use out of the laneways, out of the vestibules of the ATMs, out of wherever. So I think we're both in the exact same church and pew on that one.
Playgrounds,
wherever. That's right. I wasn't going to list every single example, because you're right.
Yeah.
Playgrounds and parks and vestibules and laneways and alleyways, wherever people are using in front of the general public, if we could reduce that as best possible with a safe consumption site and good Samaritan laws that don't mean you're going to get busted because you're using a site that is safe, then I think that makes sense to me. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, we're very close, I feel.
That's right.
I think I take a little bit of a harder line than you, but that's fine. I don't begrudge you your view, and I'm not 100% attached to my view either. I don't know if I'm right, because ultimately, remember the call that you had the other day, Rolanda Ryan?
Yes.
I live in the same neighborhood as Rolanda Ryan, and so we have a disproportionate number of people experiencing homelessness, and with that comes all this, and so I experience it. I experience it every day, multiple times, and so I have a greater level of frustration with it. And so that might be the reason why I have a slightly harder line than you, because I'm just kind of sick of it.
I totally understand.
In closing, in closing, I do think that, like, if you're going to give out these needles, they should be done on site and then disposed of, because you can't mitigate one public health risk by creating another public health risk. It's just that one cancels the other.
Yeah, they needn't operate separately. I agree with that 100%. And your lived experience makes up how you think about these things, like everybody else. And I don't begrudge you what you see and think and feel on this line. I appreciate the conversation and the respectful discourse here this morning. And again, I think we're very close in our thoughts on it. And I live in a very sleepy, quiet East End neighborhood, which if you don't have to be on the street, you probably don't go on my street because it's just in the middle of a little block of streets close by school. But I can tell you right now, I saw someone shooting up in the little sleepy park behind my house last weekend. The first time ever. So that was enough to kind of set me back. But so I can only imagine how it is for you and Rolanda and others who see it every single day.
Not easy.
No, I can only imagine it's not easy. I completely understand, or at least I'm trying to.
Always enjoy talking to you, Patty. Have a great day, bud.
Same to you, Jeff. Have a nice weekend, buddy.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, lots of time left for you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 1. Cyril, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. You
Morning.
have a wonderful show.
Thank you, sir. Welcome back.
Yes, you spoke about the wildfires. Yes, I'm located out there in Trinity Bay, out there in Gooseberry Cove. And from the high hills over there driving, we can see the smoke towering up over in Conception Bay. It is devastating. Everybody in that you talk to in a conversation is bringing up about the fires and how hot it is, and early of the week people having fires, and it's just unbelievable. And all those peninsulas runs down everybody from the Trans-Canada, we're supposing is coming this way, or across time from us there, Hatchet Cove or Random Island, and the wind is usually west and southwest wind of that if it starts above us, we haven't got a chance. I say that most of the people would have to leave in those places in boat. That'd be about the only way to get out of there. And for people just to have fires going, backyard fires and everything, it's I don't know what they're thinking.
I have no idea. I don't know if people are just callous or oblivious or what the right word is, but even just that one video I saw yesterday, I know that people are reporting people are having fires and whatever the case may be, and it's probably, like, I'm not in the business of ratting people out, but it's just too dangerous to be added. But that one video of Buddy just recklessly just flicking a cigarette butt out the car window, I thought, listen, really, man, seriously? You're watching a wildfire right in front of your car and you just flicked your smoke out the window. I just don't get it.
No, nobody else. No, that's talked about all the time. Just going around the community, lots of times you see people smoking and stuff, and somebody will throw out a butt, and maybe we're lucky to just don't go in around the dry grass, but all those places here now, I don't know if it's a lawn around that isn't right brown. It's just burned up with the sun. It's just like just walking on a carpet. So, a fire could start pretty easy.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some communities here who have asked the residents to not use water for the car and the lawn and that kind of stuff because the reserves are low. We had very little snow in many parts of the province. We've had literally zero rain around here for quite a long time. So I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard more about water consumption, how people use it. I mean, I see some people in my neighborhood who they take great pride in their property. Absolutely. Yeah. And they've got a pretty lush green lawn. And they got the sprinklers on all the time. I'm not in the business of knocking on their door and asking why they're doing it. But I can tell you right now, my lawn is pretty crusty.
Yeah. Well, Paddy, you speak about that. I have an artesian well. There's only me and the wife here now. I got my son-in-law out by the door there now filling up one of those big vates because, like, they have a dog well, and it's down so low this is his second time here now in the last week. Gradually putting water into that to like him have it on for 15 minutes and halt down it on during the day and out to help to fill the tub anyway for him to then he needs, because he have him and his wife both of them are working and two young lads, and so you know the water that they go through, and they're trying to save every bit they got. We haven't washed any cars or he did this month.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't either, but again, I'm not trying to be self-righteous here because I got my own problems, but yeah, there's lots of different angles we can take on with this wildfire issue. And, you know, it's a funny thing, I haven't said it, and someone told me I should stop talking about something that I haven't said, but we got to stop pretending that there's not bigger things in play here, like how the planet has changed. I mean, there's a climate change conversation here too, even if people want to ignore it. And the problem with that conversation, from where I sit anyway, Cyril, is every time someone dare mention climate change, people automatically think carbon tax. You don't have to think about carbon tax if we're talking about what's happening with the planet.
Yes, that's true, yeah. And we know I've been spent a lifetime on the water and in the woods, and which is something I love to do, or moose hunting or whatever. And we, you know, anybody don't see those big changes don't want to see it. You know what I mean? You just got their eyes closed and say, no, that's wrong. But it's not. But anyway, Patty, I called you this morning. We're going to have we call it Raise the Roof, or a little festival or garden party, whatever you might call it, here in Gooseberry Cove tomorrow, starting around 2 o'clock. And it's going to go into the late hours of the night, because usually after everybody leave, the kids and everything, it's going to be outdoors. We got a great place to have it. We got a tennis court, playground type thing, and it's all fenced off. We got the kids on one area, and we're going to be selling hamburgers, hot dogs, and a little bit of more stuff, food, and we're going to have a lot of prizes that the home hardware places, or should I say places that sell home hardware. There's not only one, but a few, and from hair cutting certificates to restaurant certificates, and we have a whole bunch of prizes, and we usually have a good turnout this last couple of years that we've had it, and we're raising money. People don't know, but we're raising money for our community center, and we're trying to keep that going and do repairs on it and everything, because I don't know what I do know this. I do a little bit of traveling around. I visit other places too that have those festivals, and all the places, if they got little community centers and stuff, is starting to disappear from people leaving the communities, people dying off. Everybody knows that, and we're trying to keep ours up and running. Try to get a few more years.
That sounds about right. We're talking about Gooseberry Cove, right?
Gooseberry Cove, down here we call it the Southwest Arm. You turn off the highway up in Northwest Brook and come on down through Hodges Cove, and you come down there to Gooseberry Cove, Southport. And, you know, now I know people make a mistake, and there's a Gooseberry Cove up on the loop up in St. Mary's Bay, and up in that area, and people make the mistake and think it's set up there, but it's not. It's down there, down here in the Southwest Arm, down here in Trinity Bay. And we've even had that mistake made by ambulances and ISDMP, and over the last few years, that's where they have went when called upon. Like last year, we had I don't want to get into this too much. A person there died at ICMP, died at home, and they usually call me. And they ended up, that's where they went. They waited all day for the ICMP to show up. And when they come to find out, that's where they do it too. Even over the years, people have phoned they get a tow truck, and next thing, several hours after they call back, I can't find you. And this is where they've been too, up in that Gooseberry Cove up there.
Yeah, I mean, we almost got to start, talking about Gooseberry Cove and an area code, or pardon me, your postal code, so that we, break it down to actually where people are. Same thing as civic addresses. For small communities, there's actually a very helpful kit available from the provincial government that if you use it, all of that information will be put into the 911 system, so we know exactly what we're talking about when we dispatch it in a cop car or an ambulance or whatever the case may be. Sarah, anything else quick before I have to take off?
Yes, okay. Yes, I got to shove in this plug too. Not taken away from the last minute of my our festival we're having, but this ambulance thing, like we got a lot in Clonmel now, that's I guess run by the government. People have phoned for them. They've been everywhere looking for certain places. And anyway, it starts up at 2 o'clock tomorrow, Paddy, and we're going to run into the wee hours of the night, and we got lots of things for the kids. The kids are going to have free drinks or freezies and all that. That's going to be free for the kids, and like I said, we're going to have lots of food, lots to drink, and we got this couple of things. It's not ours now. We're going to have an ice cream truck and a refreshment type truck there. That's two different young ladies here is going to university, and they got this on the go, and they help them along. So we'd like for people to come out and support them too.
Like they should. Appreciate the time, Cheryl. Have a nice weekend. Good luck with it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Bye-bye. All right, let's get a break in. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 2. Say good morning to the Progressive Conservative candidate running in the upcoming election in Mount Sion, whenever that's going to be. That's Darrell Hines. And good morning, Darrell. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How are you this morning?
That's kind. Thank you. How about you?
Good, sir. Good. Paddy, just a quick FYI, of course, the deadline to sign up for residents of Mount Sion who want to vote in the nomination is 11:59 tonight, and the meeting is going to be this coming Tuesday at the Pentecostal Tabernacle there on Kenmount Road between 4 and 8, but you have to be signed up tonight by midnight in order to register. You got to pre-register. But anyway, that's not even the reason why I'm calling, Paddy. One of our parents, Paddy, I've been advocating about the school situation in the catchment area in Kenmount Terrace for some years. One of our parents received an ATIP back, which paints even a bleaker picture than we feared, because under the government's current plan now, when they announced the new school, they're going to close Learysbrook Junior High and Larkhall Academy. And I was a former school council chair of both, so I know both buildings in the catchment areas. So both those schools now have 1,000 kids. The new school government just broke ground on, which miraculously is going to be built, they tell us, in 18 months, will hold 850. So we're going to close 2 buildings with 1,000, build a school for 850. But under government's own projections, which one of our parents got, in 2026, when the new school opens, they're projecting Kenmount Terrace to have 1,159 kids between, pre-K and grade 7, which are all going to go into this building for 850. So, I met with a group of parents last night in our community here where I live in Kenmount Terrace, and just, again, as one parent said to me, Paddy, how does this make sense to government? I won't say we're begging and pleading, but, people are absolutely exasperated with the lack of answers and the lack of a plan for how all this is going to work, how we're going to, put over 300 more kids over capacity in a building that's only built for 850. I just don't get it.
Me neither. We've had those conversations even before the final announcement from the government, because we all have to remember this newly proposed school, when it was first announced, we didn't know what grades it was going to be for. We didn't know how many people they were trying to accommodate inside the building. So it was kind of felt like a reverse engineered decision from start to finish. So, and even the student enrollment numbers, we've been talking about those before we even found out about the grades that would be accommodated in the school, before we found out how many students the school would be built for. So I don't get it. If this is about price tag, then it's just going to be more costly into the future if we underbuild here. And we've done it a couple of times in the recent past. The relatively new school down Torbay, not big enough. this school is obviously not going to be big enough if there's going to be 300 students that are not being built for. So I'm not really sure the rationale or the motivation here.
No, when even again, by an ATIP one of our parents got, the department's own numbers project they're going to need something for 11:59, and by the time this is supposed to open in 2026, I mean, it's not that far away. And again, as I've been saying for some years, Kenmount Terrace and Mount Sorrow is not a retirement community. I mean, tremendous young families moving in and people, building homes. I mean, there's been a real housing explosion up here. Houses have gone up with the housing crises. People are excited to come to our community, and we welcome them. But I mean, people are, rightly looking for some sensible access to education. And I talked to a guy last night, and he said, well, he's already got one child he brings up to Elizabeth Park, but, has to provide his own transportation because they don't want to subject them to the overcrowding and other issues. And again, by government's own numbers, we're deliberately building too small again. And I went to the announcement with other parents. And, the minister was there and the MHA, and it was all, but we know what we're doing. Don't worry about it. We got a handle on all this. I mean, there was one of our parents is an engineer, very bright lady, said, boy, the math don't math. I mean, it was a funny statement, but it was true. Because, I mean, how can anyone sensibly project this and pat you on the head and say, this is all going to turn out well when, our kids are going back to school next month, and overcrowded classrooms, lack of green space, all the issues that our parents have been talking about for years in the two existing buildings that are, and one of them is really old, built in the 60s, was supposed to be closed a number of years ago. But we're going to close two of these buildings. They got 1,000 kids in them now, and that don't include anyone who moved in here over the summer, might have built a new home, whatever, took possession. That's not in these schools' numbers now. I just don't get it, Paddy. I really totally exasperated. And when I'm talking to parents, residents, people signing up for the nomination or whatever next week, it's just, Daryl. I mean, what? I mean, is government not listening? We've been promised a new school for 10 years, and it just don't seem to be going anywhere. And when they finally break ground, they're going to build something deliberately too small. So what do we, on day one, we're going to have portable classrooms or we're, I don't know, Paddy. I'm like you, boy. It's just totally, I don't get it. And when one of the parents share these new numbers now that, the same date this is going to open, it's 11:59. It's their own projections now. This is not, Daryl Hines spinning up these numbers. This is government's document. Their projections is 11:59, and we're building for 8:50.
Yeah, and
so
that number's
for someone to.
The number's only going to increase too, because we've heard repeatedly year over year the forecast of student enrollment in kindergarten, if they're guessing 80 or they predict 80 based on, whether it be pre-K or what is that program, a kinder start. So, but then inevitably every year it's more. So that 11:59 is only going to grow.
I've talked to parents going door to door who got people wanting to move in here now to the community because they think the new hospital may get going and they want to be, obviously for work employment, you probably build a trail, you'll be able to walk to the new acute care facility if it's ever built here. It's going to be a big draw, which is going to put additional pressure on the school and bring new families in and all that, which is wonderful. And again, I've met so many in the past few weeks. I've met so many new friends and neighbours and people throughout the district. But it's all wonderful. People are moving there for different reasons, including the new projected St. Clair's replacement and the Cardiac Institute, which is supposed to go up there too on Kenmount Crossing. But again, people are saying, Daryl, I got to have somewhere to send my kids. I mean, anyway. We'll keep beating the drum, and some of the parent committee is still, speaking out about it. And I was pleased to play a small role with them the past 2 years, but it's just, I don't know. And we're going into another school year, and people are looking for answers, and it don't seem to be any.
Yeah, and there's no shame for a government to go back to the drawing board. Like, if they're using their own numbers, even if, sometimes I think politicians and governments are loath to correct themselves, when in fact I think that's misreading the political tea leaves. If you acknowledge that you're on the wrong track and put us on the right track, I think by and large people will say, as opposed to, my God, how stupid are you to begin with? Oh, okay, good. You've understood the numbers, your own numbers. We're going to build to accommodate the actual numbers that you're using as the government. That's a good thing. So there's a political, I'm not going to say victory, but there's an upside here, politically speaking, to just go back and say, hey, we've reviewed the numbers and this is what we're going to need to do to build a new school in Kenmount Terrace, and off we go. Okay, there you go.
No, and look, no one got the monopoly on great ideas. I mean, I've talked to parents up here, say, look, Darryl, maybe we need to adjust the catchment area to move some of the kids in some parts of this district to another school. Maybe that's the answer. maybe we need to keep one of the buildings they're slated to close open and reconfigure again. Now, we've done that twice in the past 10 years that I'm aware of, that I was personally involved in, and each time we were told this would last 10 years and we'd never have to do it again. There'd be no more disruption because, again, they knew what they were doing. And all the displacement, the reconfigurations that it's already been done twice, moving around grades, putting our grade 9s down to PwC, which is, approaching now 1,000 kids, getting towards its outer limits of its capacity. But again, I don't see any plan overall, and I don't see any leadership. But you're right, the parents have been very reasonable. I mean, I went to the public meeting with other parents, about 100 people there last year. And people put forward different ideas. But again, nobody, not interested. I mean, the government officials, the bureaucrats there, the ministers, nobody, we know what we're doing. You guys got to buy into this, and everything's going to be okay. Well, here we are, we're going into another school year. The school is going to be delayed. I mean, no one up here believes they'll be built by September 2026. I mean, you're going to build a school for 850 kids in 18 months.
Yeah,
I think
probably
that's
not.
So the short term is, what are you going to do in the short term? And again, let's have another public meeting, boy. Let's lay it on the table and see if it's reconfiguration, if it's keeping the building open.
Fair enough. I got to interrupt, Darryl, because I do have to jump in because I'm extremely late for the news. But point taken, and I appreciate your time. Have a nice weekend.
You too, sir.
Thanks, buddy. All the best. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Just a couple of very quick notes before we get to Heather on line number 3. So, Town of Bay Roberts, public notice, water usage ban notice effective immediately. So, obviously, this is something we talked about a little bit earlier. So, they talk about all of the things like washing vehicles, watering lawns, gardening, filling swimming pools, other non-essential water use. So, that's in the Town of Bay Roberts. And we've heard some of those stories coming from the Burin Peninsula as well. Just for your information. Let's keep going. Let's go to line number 3. Heather, you're on the air.
Hiya there, Patty. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I'm calling from Freshwater in Conception Bay North, so we're next to, between Victoria and Carbonear, down in a little cove. The smell is really strong out here. There's lots of ash on the roofs and all of that. It's quite disturbing. Now, I got a couple of questions. Number one, who in government is in charge of sending out the information to us so that we know what's going on? I got my friend who lives in Salmon Cove got his alert that he was waiting for on the phone 10 minutes after the men knocked on his door and said, "You have 15 minutes to leave."
Yeah.
They hadn't sent it out. I got it about 3 hours later on my phone. This is not okay. So I don't know how that all works. They send out an alert. Do they send it out to all of the cell phones? How do they do that? Why aren't we all getting it at the same time? Why are we getting it so many hours delayed? So that was number one.
I'll respond to that because I'm in the same boat, Heather. In my office, there are people that live in St. John's that are getting alerts based on fires that are happening outside of the city. So it's an excellent question. I'm not getting them. Someone pointed out a couple of things. Maybe it's my carrier, or maybe when I get the emergency alerts that are federal, everybody gets them. Apparently, there's some sort of registration with the province to get provincial alerts. I didn't know that was even a thing, to be honest with you. I thought automatically, if I have a 709 area code on my cell phone, which I do, I would automatically get all emergency alerts, regardless of where it is in the province. So, but I'm not getting them. So your question is valid.
No, and sometimes I get them and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And it's really disturbing when you're next door to, what's happening. So now, here another example. Who's in charge of this? So Victoria, which is the other side of us, and so they are now on alert according to the government website. But you have to go and look right down almost to the bottom of their press release. They don't even have it on their big yellow banner warning, fire update. They don't have it there, that Victoria is now on alert. It's on a news press release down at the bottom. It's not okay. That's not okay. I should be able to look at that banner and know exactly where the evacuation orders are, who is on alert, and where the bloody fire is. And there's another thing. Here's a map of the fires This is sponsored by the Newfoundland government. And it says on the right-hand side of this website, there are 5 active wildfires. And there's 4 listed on the map. Kingston, Adams Cove, all of that area, that's not even in there anymore. It was 2 days ago. It's not there. And so so who's in charge of sending out the information? And why aren't they using radio? The cell phone coverage here is atrocious. Why aren't they putting it out on the radio? Radio doesn't ever seem to be a problem.
Yeah, no, we'll be more than happy to share the information. The website called the Active Wildfire Dashboard, the provincial government's website. I'm looking at it right now. 198 wildfires this season, 5 active wildfires, but it's not really very specific.
There's a map there that you can click on.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Kingston, Adams Cove, all that area, that's not in there. There are 4 listed on that little map, even though it says 5.
It's a fair concern, and for folks who don't have that website in front of them, it's basically easier to just Google Active Wildfire Dashboard Newfoundland and Labrador as opposed to the website address that I can give out, but it's a long one. It's arcgis.com/app/dashboard.
And our alert is coming.
Yeah.
We're in between now. We're the next community up from Victoria. They're on alert. I don't even know if they know about it because it's not on the government website, except on a press release right at the very, very bottom.
Yeah.
The next community along the Veterans Highway is actually Carbonear with the hospital and a big population and lots of businesses. And, do they know that the community next to them is on alert? This isn't good. The government needs to come out at least I'm going to suggest 2 hours and say, this is a new update. The following communities are on alert, and the following communities are on mandatory evacuation.
Yeah, and that's easily done. We don't need a press conference every 2 hours, but even just some sharing of information that I'd be happy to give out. The newsroom would be happy to give out in our regular newscast. If I get an alert from the government about an evacuation alert or order, I'm happy to put it out there. They should use our medium for exactly what it's there for.
Exactly, because everything else is so dependent on a technology that is really, really iffy. The cell phones and the internet, they can go down anytime. Radio seems to be the most solid way, and they use television and radio during COVID. This is a lot more serious for those of us out here, So anyway, we need. There's nothing. The big yellow government banner doesn't say anything about Victoria being on alert, and somebody's falling down. We're not getting the alerts on the phones, and we're not getting it on the internet, and we're not getting it on the radio.
Yeah, if you lose your power and you lose your modem, you can't go on the website. So This medium can be very helpful, as it always has been for the course of decades. So I'm happy to take information regarding these types of things. I don't want to hear from the government on a whole lot of things, but for this bit of information sharing, we are happy to play our role, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I don't know who's in charge. Is it Justice and Public Safety, or is it the Fisheries and Forestry and Agriculture? They don't have anything. They don't have anything on their website about this at all, except that there's a fire ban. Justice and Public Safety, I can't find anything on it. So this isn't okay. Somebody's falling down on the job. Just let us know who's responsible for the cell phone notices and for the notices out to the public via internet, radio, whatever. Somebody has to be in charge, and I think they don't know who's in charge.
Well, represented at the press conferences are the Minister of Justice, John Haggie, Lisa Dempster, and the Premier. So those are the 3 ultimately responsible for this type of information to be shared, and they should ensure that the bureaucrats working in their departments are actively updating information, whether it be on the radio or whatever the case may be, and I'm happy to play my role. And Heather, I understand your concern. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I hope I can call again.
Sure you can. No problem.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, this is a concern we've heard many times about the timeliness of information, how it gets shared. So I think Heather's on the right track here. if there are updates that are required to be shared immediately, because not everyone is sitting in front of their laptop or their desktop or their tablet all day long refreshing a page looking for updated info, we can get it out to suite. I mean, in seconds flat, if I'm sending something that says, for this community, there's now an evacuation alert, and talk about preparedness and, a kit that you can have at your home, we're happy to share it. Insofar as protecting our own property, I've heard the minister say this, and I had a look at the website. It is pretty helpful with some things that we might not consider, firesmart.ca. So, but if government wants to share information about things like evacuation alerts and or orders, we're happy to share that and pass it along to you. Let's take a break. When we come back, Kathy's in the queue to talk about the Comfort Inn, wind energy, and a couple of things. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 1. Kathy, you're on the air.
Hi, Paddy. How are you this morning?
I'm okay. How about you?
Good. Actually, I've been writing notes over the past couple of months because I knew I was going to call you one day. Okay. Today happens to be today.
Good.
The first thing I'd like to mention is the Attorney General, whether or not they're going to go ahead with the investigation with the deal with the Comfort Inn when it was up for $3.1 million for sale, but the government leased it for $21 million. But if she or he investigates that, I would like to put it in their ear. Why don't they also have a look at the fishing trip that he took with a buddy of his up in Labrador? I believe it was Labrador. Just so happens to be the owner of that windvine company. They got the deal to put the windvines here in Newfoundland. That's one. Do you agree with that or not?
Do I agree with what in particular? I'm sorry? The trip itself or?
The trip, do you think that should be investigated as well as a deal for the Comfort Inn?
Okay, let's take them one by one, I suppose.
Should that be looked at again, I should say?
I was going to say, because both have been looked at. The trip up to, what's it called? Rustling something or other? John's Lodge up in Labrador. Can't remember right off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, I think that was pretty widely discussed in the House of Assembly. Initially, people
Sure it was, but it was done by a commissioner. Let's let the Attorney General do it.
But this is just basically a question. What is there to actually investigate? Because eventually, what should have been done right off the bat was the Premier was asked to provide receipts that he paid for his own trip. Because the thought was, if he was being a guest of Risley's, then that's a problem. But apparently, he was able to show receipts that he did indeed pay, and his father paid for their own trip. So what specifically could be investigated there?
Where they got the contract to put the wind vines here.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's bad optics, right? It's just something people should be a bit more careful or cautious about as elected officials. But, I mean, there could have been a meeting in the Premier's office, in his backyard, at Risley's house, or on his jet, or wherever, to get up close and personal with decision makers like the Premier. So it didn't look good, but I'm not so sure how you can investigate anything any further without, asking, like, specifically, what would you like to know? Is what Risley said or what the Premier said, or specifically what?
Well, the commissioners did investigate it or looked into it, had an inquiry into it.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, my opinion is I don't believe it, and I'm sure some of your listeners don't believe it. And seeing that they're going to have an inquiry now into this Comfort Inn deal, which makes no sense at all when he could have bought it for $3.1 million, release it for $21 million over the next 3 years. So something's not right with that, Paddy. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
I've said it 100 times.
Pardon me?
I've said that 100 times. I've asked that specific question many, many times. Because there's examples across the country where governments have made decisions to buy hotels for a variety of reasons, whether it be transitional housing or whatever the case may be, but we didn't. And I've asked that question right from the get-go, is why are we leasing something that we could have bought? The same thing with the Costco building on Stavanger Drive. It's sold to a private contractor, private operator. We knew the province was looking for space for this new type of ambulatory hub, and lo and behold, now we're leasing it, and we could have bought it.
And what's your intake on that?
Other than what I just said, is if we're looking for something and we can buy it, which means it's ours for the long term, that makes more sense than leasing it, because we do know that we're going to probably have to renew that lease. The province has got to be in this long term for the ambulatory hub and or the Comfort Inn. So my thoughts have been pretty clear on that front. I think we should have looked and pursued buying property, not leasing property.
I'm glad you agree with that.
Well, I've said that countless times.
Okay. Now the other one I want to do is, I'm just trying to pick up my own writing here.
Don't worry, I can't read my own writing either.
Okay. Now I want to go back to Trudeau when he was in Prime Minister.
All right.
I got him. He stated that he didn't force anyone to get the vaccine, get vaccinated.
Well, technically that's true, but that's a split in the hair.
But he did shut down the nation.
Well, most of the restrictions that anybody experienced in this country was at the behest of premiers.
Okay, but the thing, premiers or whatever. They just let's take the premier of Alberta. She got on TV and she apologized to the province or the country of Canada. She apologized to the people that were unvaccinated for the way they were discriminated against. I don't know if you can recall that.
Yeah, Danielle Smith, I saw it. But, I mean, that's kind of easy picking politics, though, isn't it? I mean, she was not in charge when any of the restrictions were being imposed. And it's I think, also reasonable to point out that the Conservative Party of Canada was talking about restrictions. The Conservative Party of Canada was talking about vaccinations. Conservative premiers, including Jason Kenney and Doug Ford, were talking about vaccinations. We're talking about restrictions. So, to me, it really feels like people are trying to paint it as only liberal-leaning people and or liberal officials were doing these things, when the fact of the matter is, Erin O'Toole was in a commercial with Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau talking about vaccination. Doug Ford talked about vaccination. Doug Ford talked about restrictions and shutting down stuff. Same with Jason Kenney. And those are two staunch conservative people.
I know, and actually, Doug Ford, he was not long ago saying, don't get your children vaccinated. You know, our children, they got the most strongest immune systems, there is, which leads me to my next thing.
Well, just quickly on children being vaccinated.
Okay.
Are you talking about COVID, or are you talking about the regular suite of vaccinations that we all got?
Probably all of them, because I wouldn't take a vaccine now if my life depended on it, because I don't know what's in it.
Well, you wouldn't take, say, your children or your grandchildren to get, for instance, the MMR vaccine, the mumps, measles, and rubella vaccine?
Do you know something? That's my children's children, and they can decide for themselves.
Sure. I would, for me, I would have my children vaccinated against measles all day long. It's been used for so long, and we understand exactly how that works. We understand exactly how effective it's been. So there's a reason why there's a measles outbreak in this country, and in the United States there's a couple of unbelievable hotbeds of measles outbreaks. I think it's, vaccine skepticism has crept into a lot of people's minds, and I understand why. I've never got so sick of talking about anything quite like the COVID vaccine. But things like measles, I mean, I'm not sure where there's a newfound concern with that particular vaccination.
Okay, now they're saying, but when we were in school and we got the vaccines,
yep.
It didn't take overnight to come out with the vaccine for them. They worked on it 10, 11, 12 years or however long it was. But were you aware, you know Moderna, right?
Yep.
Okay, did you know, you fact check this, did you know that that's a small branch owned by Pfizer? Now, Moderna didn't even come out with an aspirin, and all of a sudden they're coming out with a vaccine. Now, I'd like your listeners to ask themselves, how is their health since we're vaccinated? Because I would really like to hear the replies. Because the people I'm after talking to, and I've talked to a lot, and there's damage done.
Some people have had adverse effects to the vaccine, no question about it. There's actually a vaccine injury compensation fund at the federal level.
Class action lawsuit against them, and so there should be.
Okay, but I mean, let's just step back 1 second on that one too. The uptake on COVID vaccination in this province was in excess of 90%. So I mean, if we're saying that everyone who got vaccinated has some sort of adverse effect, then that would mean over 90% of the population would have said adverse effects, which is obviously not happening.
Which is true.
There's billions and billions and billions of doses of the vaccine have been administered around the world. And while people are telling me it killed more people than it helped, well, the fact of the matter is the population's growing. So I don't quite buy some of the exaggerations associated with vaccine injury. Are there some? 100% there are. No doubt about it. There's a side effect potential for every vaccination that's out there known to man. But the way people talk about the COVID vaccination dropping people dead where they stand, I think some of that is pretty exaggerated, just given some of the numbers that we just discussed.
Okay, now getting back to that again. Sure. Now, I'm not saying that every batch of the vials that come in were something in it from Dr. Fauci or whatever conspiracy, whatever one to take. But there were 4 doctors in Ontario working in one clinic. 4 of them were ordered to take the vaccine. They all died, and one was, they're all athletic, all young. One was triathlon, you know. And do you know what I did? I got the name of the clinic. I called.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I questioned myself too, right? I called. Sorry, he's deceased. And the OPP got to be one of the sternest police forces in Canada. Now, you got 4 doctors dropping dead in the one clinic.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually been proven to be true.
OPP is not the kind to let that slide. They will investigate that to say, geez, you know, something's going on here. We can have 4 doctors dropping dead, 4 young doctors from the one clinic.
That probably requires a medical investigation versus a police investigation. I don't think that's proven to be true. And also when you talk about Moderna and Pfizer, their relationship, Moderna sued Pfizer because Pfizer said that Moderna copied and stole the vaccine information from them. Moderna actually sued Pfizer, which is an interesting twist to all of that big pharma.
And I don't believe it. They're covering their own tracks.
Okay, but I don't know what to tell you. They actually filed suit in court.
That's like the first one that come out.
Yeah.
And then they had to be refrigerated for a certain period of time. The following week saying, no, they don't have to be refrigerated.
Some had to. Yeah, no question.
And Trudeau was on TV when he got his vaccine. They showed him. You know, if I was behind him, I would have pushed him out of the way, and I would have said, I'll take what you're giving him. Now, he got the vaccine. Every time there was a controversy or a scandal going on, he always claimed he had COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that has to do with anything today, but we also have to remember that this was a global issue, right? And the vaccines that were taken by Canadians...
It was man-made.
Yes, but also that really... I don't know what that has to do with anything either. The fact of the matter is...
Sure it does, because the population had to decline because there was too many population on the Earth.
But the population
grew.
grew.
Bill Gates was on a talk show, and he said whether it's through natural causes or vaccinations, the population has to decrease.
It doesn't matter what Bill Gates said because the population of the planet has grown since 2020, regardless of the pandemic, regardless of the vaccine. Pardon?
People are still listening. They're listening to CNN, and you do have some good topics, Patty. I got to say on your
yeah, we give it our best shot
on your show.
Okay.
But people listen to CNN, and they listen to you.
Well,
if you were tomorrow,
I don't watch CNN.
If you weren't, and that's another thing. I couldn't believe that Fury actually got on CNN and had a discussion with him on TV.
What was that about again? I can't remember.
Fury was on in TV.
Yeah.
Right. With CNN on one side of the screen, like he was having a conversation with CNN.
Okay.
I cannot believe for the life of me that a CNN reporter would contact Fury in Newfoundland, and half of them don't even know where Newfoundland is.
Yeah, I'm sure Doug Ford was on Fox. Again, I'm not sure what that really has to do with anything. I mean, Doug Ford's been on Fox.
But did you see that?
I don't know if I saw it. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch cable news, to be honest with you.
It wasn't on CNN. It was on NTV.
Okay, well,
That's the same place I seen it.
Well, the NTV is on Logan Bay Road. Why would it be an issue for the Premier to be on NTV?
he wasn't. Okay. It was just, well, I was making a point. The point was, why would CNN call the Premier of Newfoundland? Like I said, they don't even probably know where Newfoundland is.
Well, I think they probably do.
Well, they probably do, but why wouldn't they call another province, a bigger province with more population than Newfoundland?
I don't know. So what? Very quickly.
I'm saying if Fury called CNN,
maybe he did
to get it out there. Oh, no doubt. Why wouldn't he call CBC or Fox or anyone else? Because CNN, Newfoundlanders are glued to CNN.
I don't know.
That's why he contacted
It hasn't been out of my house for quite a long time. People try to go on venues where they get the most eyeballs. It's why Mark Carney went on with what's-his-face, Stephen Colbert. I mean, that's just how politics works. That when they talk, they want to be seen by as many people as possible. So if that means Fox or CNN or MSNBC or Jon Stewart or Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon or whoever, that's what they do. I mean, that's how everyone operates when they're trying to get some press, is they try to get the most eyeballs and or ears and or fingertips so that people hear what they want to say. That's pretty much kind of politics 101, and they all do it. Conservatives, Liberals, Democrats, Republicans. There's no new science here behind trying to be heard. I got to get going, Kathy, but I appreciate your time. Hope you have a nice weekend.
Okay.
Take care. All right, bye-bye. I have no idea what time it is for break, but we're taking one. Welcome back. Let's go line number 2. Ken, you're on the air.
It's not you.
Hello, Ken?
Oh, sorry, Paddy. I didn't hear you there.
No problem.
Hi, Paddy. I'm just calling. We're having a fundraising event up here in Ballyeen South on the Southern Shore tomorrow.
Okay.
Paddy, what we're doing is proceeds for the upkeep of our Harbour Authority facility. Last fall, Paddy, we had a bad storm, as everybody can remember. Anyway, we had a lot of storm damage, wharf damage, so we got it mostly repaired and everything through the Small Crafts and Harbours, of course. Anyway, this is our second year now. We're having a fundraiser. So what we're doing, Paddy, we're having a barbecue and some ticket spins. We're going to have live music, local bands, a lot of Irish music, Uncle Jack they're called. And we had a lot of stuff donated from local businesses around. And there's a new boat tour company operating out of there, so they'll be running back and forth to Great Island there. It's only 10 minutes from the dock. It's just 5 minutes off of the Route 10, Ballyeen South, Paddy.
Very good. And so what exactly is going on?
There's a fundraising event, Paddy.
I'm just wondering what the event looks like. What are people going to see?
Well, we'll be having ticket spins there and the barbecue now, hot dogs and hamburgers for the kids, and you can go around the beach there and you know, play whatever, and there'll probably be some capering in around the sea and herring and mackerel coming in there, and there's ducks around, and there's just lots of little things to see there in the community, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. So is there a price tag for the repairs that are needed?
Well, we had a fundraiser last year, which was our first time, and last year, Paddy, I think we raised probably $5,500. It was really well, and it's basically for the upkeep of the whole facility, you know, keeping slipways going for recreational fisheries and this kind of stuff, and the upkeep of the wharf. Because Small Crafts and Harbours, what they're doing, as long as we can show that we're profitable, we can maintain our harbour authority. Because what's happening throughout the federal government now, Paddy, is they're looking to they've been taking out a lot of the harbour authorities because of the expense. So if we show that we're profitable, we can maintain and keep our wharf, because we don't want to lose our wharf harbour community, because it will never return, you know, Paddy?
Yeah, absolutely. So what level of support is there from Small Craft Harbours?
They're doing really well, the best they can, you know.
Okay.
There's always, well, all the harbour authorities are always looking for money, you know, so we put in, we ask stuff and we get to somewhat. So whatever, normally what's happening is they'll give us so much money, and the harbour authority ourselves, we'll probably match it in whatever they can supply, so we supply it on our own, you know.
Yeah, well, listen, good luck with the event. Hopefully it goes over gangbusters.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little community, you know, and people don't know. They pass right by Torskov, and they don't know to turn up and to drop down and see the three communities and three islands there. People are amazed when they come down and have a look at it. You know, it's off the beaten trail. You know.
I've been in there. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And the East Coast Trail is there too. So people walk up to the bridge. There's half an hour walk, and the weather is going to be great. It's great, something for the kids to do, you know, and get out and get a bit of fresh air. And it's going to be a really good event.
It sounds great to me. Thanks for telling us about it, Ken.
Okay, talk to you soon, Petty. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. You're welcome, sir. Bye-bye. All right, and speaking of events and fundraisers, so just some information for those who are considering going to the Block the Bus event at the Village Mall this afternoon between 12 and 4. Any concerns with the smoke and air quality, what have you, all of the family fun activities have been moved inside. So you'll be indoors at the Village Mall making your donation and away from the smoky conditions that we're experiencing at this moment. Okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, plenty of show left for you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let us go. Line number 4 is to give morning to one of the candidates running for an at-large council position here in the city of St. John's. Is Miles Russell. Miles, you're on the air. Hello, Miles, on line number 4. Did I click that right?
Hello, Patty. Sorry
Hi
for
there.
that.
No prob.
I was talking to just myself in my office. How you doing today, Patty?
Okay.
Well, that's good. Well, hey, let's talk about something, a little more lighted spirit. Let's talk about traffic calming. I've been going around all parts of the city with my canvassing team. We've been meeting with people in every edge of the city, whether it's Kenmount Terrace on the east end. And a lot of the major roads, a lot of people have questions about traffic calming and the process that the city has for how a resident or a community gets traffic calming. Not sure if you're familiar with the process at all, are you?
If I'm familiar with what in particular, sorry?
The process of how residents would ask for traffic calming from the city of St. John's.
No, I don't know what the process might be, but I do know that I hear from plenty of citizens who are looking for traffic calming measures to come to their neighborhood.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of residents that ask for traffic calming, and it's a multi-year process, and it does not have a high success rate. Essentially what the city does is they will do a multi-year, they'll come out within a couple of years upon a request with a significant number of residents requesting it. They will then observe the traffic, and then they'll ascertain themselves, kind of in a closed loop, whether a road is deemed necessary. And, there's a lot of design aspects that need to change for that for it to be an implementation that works. So, for example, up on Ladysmith Drive, the road is significantly wider than your average road, but there's what's called a perceived speed that the road's lanes are very wide because of the on-street parking. So it's an interesting part. I've been talking to a lot of residents how the on-street parking that's not used is a factor of speeding up cars. So, the city likes to lean towards speed bumps and these speed cushions so that Metrobus can kind of get over the bumps a little better, but they're not super effective and they do not work in the winter. So I don't know if you're familiar with Trails End Drive out in Paradise. Paradise has been starting using these vertical delineators.
Yeah, I've seen them. They look like they make sense to me.
Yeah, so what's good about them is they actually slow down traffic and they're proven. So what these end up doing is they constrain vehicles horizontally. So you take larger vehicles and essentially there's a visual thing like if you drive on a highway that has a concrete median, the median has to be about a meter away from the lane or people start to slow down even though there's not a real risk. So what you end up doing with these little delineators, these vertical bars, they constrict it horizontally so that people aren't worried about hitting a bump. So that's, that usually benefits larger vehicles can hit the bumps faster. So there's not all vehicles slow down the same way. But these constrictions slow down all vehicles by just simply choking the lane down to the minimum. Problem is they don't work in the winter. So I've been talking to a lot of residents about temporary concrete infrastructure, very cheap to install, very cheap to build, and actually having that as a permanent function the city does. So if a community requests traffic calming, simply put it in. And also doing more long-term planning for all of our new roads that are going out in Southlands and Kenmount Terrace are still getting larger. And we have an uptake. So in the suburban parts of St. John's, usually at the peak, we have about 15% of the on-street parking is used, which means the vast majority is empty, which makes people drive faster. So I've been talking to residents, even in Southlands, with a couple roads where when there's no people parking on the street, people are flying up and down the road, and the city's process for analyzing that does not look at perceived speed.
Yeah, just a quick one for folks who don't know what we're talking about. A vertical delineator is simply the modern-day pylon. So as opposed to being something like a bullhorn, it's just basically a very potentially tall, cylindrical, basically a pylon.
Yeah, it's a little flex post. A lot of people call them flex posts
yeah, okay.
as well. So and you can hit, like, not that you should, but they're not built to be a physical impedance that will actually damage a vehicle. They might scratch your paint if you hit them. Like a plow or a large tractor, if they need to overrun them, they can. It does cause damage to the units. So it's, they're not designed to be hit all the time, but they aren't there as a physical barrier. Like if you strike one, these aren't meant to bring up a car solid. They are meant to do this thing. Like there's a big part of traffic calming where it's all about perceived speeds. It's why highway lanes are wider and why, people drive faster the wider a lane is. And this is something I think the city needs to address, because when I talk to residents on all these large roads, I bring up the fact that the road's width is the big factor. And if we can choke down the width, even with just, whether it's these vertical flex posts or concrete like Jersey barriers with just a sign on it, they can be a semi-permanent but all winter option. Because what we're seeing now is, like, say, up on Ladysmith, the city of St. John's has removed all of the speed bumps and has not put them back in because the school is getting built and they want to maintain traffic spacing. So they can still do traffic calming on a much cheaper, much more broad level. And like I said, the policy that the city has is they do not do traffic calming on more than about a half dozen to maybe 24 roads a year. But if we were to use a temporary system with, say, these flex posts and with concrete barriers that we can put en masse all over the city, we could have traffic calming all over the existing city. But also, we do need to change the way our roads are built so that future roads that are getting built aren't basically drag strips, because that's what we're seeing all over the city. Even there was a couple people I was speaking to the other day. As I was chatting to them, one of these fart can cars did a burnout in the street right behind us, and it's like, well, there's the point. It's like this person has no incentive to not drive fast. So it's something that I think is an important topic point that everywhere we're going, we're hearing from. Obviously, there's a housing crisis. People are talking about a lot. But I think the traffic calming aspect is something more residents, I think, would be more in tune with if they better understood the city's system, because it's not very transparent how the city goes about selecting. You might have a group of residents say, hey, 70 people on our street of 100, we ask for traffic calming. The city goes, great, give us a year to two to come out and do an analysis. They do the analysis, and most of the time the city says, no, you guys don't meet the threshold.
Yeah, and there's
what
some
the threshold
roads
is not explained.
Fair enough. There's some roads that you can't actually impose traffic calming measures other than, say, for instance, radar and your speed to be displayed. There's primary routes for first responders, those types of things. But the couple that, look, I'm no expert in this field. I'm not an expert in anything. But the curb bump outs, they don't make any sense to me at all, because I drive a particular route home, like for instance on Newfoundland Drive where they bumped out the curb. All it means is that I pass by the vehicle going in the other direction closer. That's it. It doesn't make anybody slow down. Sometimes the bumps, I think, do, but for me, what slows me down more than anything else is when there's a screen flashing my speed. I mean, I don't feel the need to be rushing around, because I'll see at the next red light if we're talking about St. John's, but that slows me down, I think, more than anything other than a curb bump out or a speed bump on the road or even a vertical delineator, of which they're on McDonald Drive this morning because they're doing road work or line painting or something or other, but you can feel that slowing you down.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up those the little LiDAR detectors that display your speed on them. I also noticed, like, people do slow down for them. There's a funny reason why. It's because your private speed is publicly displayed. It's kind of like I don't know, I don't want to say shame, but the seeing it, like, we can all see our speedometers in our cars. So if someone's doing a little over the speed limit, no one's going to notice. But now all of a sudden you're driving by and it says you're doing 64 and a 50. Well, now everyone sees that you're doing 64 and a 50. So, like, they do certainly help. What's interesting with those bump outs, Patty, is what the city's trying to do with those. A curb bump out, like, say, when they narrow the road down at an intersection, the intent there is to, at critical points where, they want cars to slow down at intersections, the goal is to, again, constrict. But the other part that's interesting, like, I'm up here in Airport Heights, so right in front of Roncalli School, they do have that done for the crosswalk, which is great. People still speed on it. And in the middle, if you go up there, chances are most of the time there are not two vehicles crossing the crosswalk at the same time. So what ends up happening is the car that's going, oh, well, this curb's getting closer, I'm just going to go in the opposite lane. So they'll drive in the middle of the lane, which is what's nice seeing Paradise putting in these little flex posts in the middle of the lane as well as on both sides. That's like a forcing of a slowdown. Now, it is only instantaneous, but it is an option. Yeah, those lie detectors are really nice too. I'd love to see more mobile ones, because what happens when, you're used to the same one every time? Well, everyone just slows down during that, and then you continue on. Has anybody been on talking about the City St. John's and provincial government's ticketing system now, the automatic ticketing system in front of a couple of schools?
We've had a couple of calls on it, and I think that's probably proactively a pretty good thing. Miles, we've hit 11:01 in 55 seconds. I'll give you a couple of seconds to wrap it up before I do unfortunately have to go. No,
that's it. Just again, remind people the election is on October 2nd. Lots of candidates out there. Feel free to look us all up. I'm an open book. Anyone can reach out whenever they want. Thanks so much, Patty.
Good man. Appreciate your time. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Miles Russell, running for an at-large council position. Let's take a break for the news. When we get back, there was a caller there to talk fixed link. Loves me a bit of fixed link talk. And then a couple of reactions to a particular call from yesterday. Don't go away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the program. Let's begin this segment on line number one. Say good morning to a town councillor up in Wabush. She's also the NDP candidate for Lab West. That's Shazia Razi. I hope I pronounced that properly. Good morning, Shazia. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. Thank you. You did pronounce it right. Most people don't. So kudos to you for that.
I'm glad I hit it.
Yep, you did. Thank you for having me. I am the NDP candidate for Labrador West, as you mentioned, and I'm running from Labrador. So I'm really proud of that. But I'm not calling for that. What I'm calling for is I heard your show yesterday, and I heard one of the lady from St. John's. She called and mentioned about Muslims taking over. And I mean, that kind of sentiment is extremely dangerous and problematic. And therefore, I'm calling regarding that. So I do want to, as a Muslim woman, and as a Muslim woman in Newfoundland and Labrador, and as a Muslim woman who's a representative for Wabush and for Labrador, I am in a public eye, and it is important for me especially to debunk those false narratives. So I do want to point out some of the things that she said, and I'm not going to name her because I don't want, just like for myself, I don't want hatred. For myself, I don't want it for anybody else. I think she was misinformed, and it is important that she hears our perspective as well. So she mentioned a few things. She mentioned that we have a growing immigrant population and Muslims coming in, and they will have Sharia law. Now, I do want to say that you did a good job. You did a great job at, calling some of those misinformation and outright lies and correcting her on those. So I will not go into the population numbers and how that's not possible. But I will go into some of the things that she mentioned, like cultural assimilation. She said that Muslims don't culturally assimilate into our culture, the Anglo-Saxon culture. And it's a very regressive way of looking at it. And to be, frankly, it's a white supremacy ideology that has been seeping in. What cultural assimilation basically means is the minority community coming into a culture and taking over adapting to the dominant culture. Now, you will go on, and some of the political thinkers and sociologists will tell you that that's not what we look for. What we look for is cultural acculturation, and an example of cultural assimilation is residential schools. We don't want that. We want our cultures to be a bridge between two cultures and sharing the ideas and ideologies and working for something that's better. The other thing that she mentioned was she implied that since, and she was mentioning, you know, the names of the mosques that are in St. John's, and those kind of, and you know, fear-mongering, those kind of phobias are dangerous for not just the community, the Muslim community in St. John's, but also across Newfoundland and Labrador and across Canada. We have seen a rise in hate crimes and anti-Semitism and Islamophobia across our country. Since 2009, you know, it has increased by 150%. And since COVID, it has increased by 67%. We have seen the Quebec mosque attack. We have seen anti-Semitic rhetorics in Toronto, in Alberta, and we don't want those things happening in Montreal. We don't want those things happening in Newfoundland and Labrador. So when she says that because of Muslims, the hate crimes and domestic violence in Newfoundland has increased, there's no data that this is not evidence-based at all. There's no data. There are no experts who would say that. Yes, domestic violence has increased. And I am on the board for Labrador West Housing and Homeless Coalition. I work with Hope Haven here in Labrador. And I can tell you that that's nothing to do with a community. That's more to do with, one, people, women, being more educated. And two, post-COVID, that's happened more so often. So there's no evidence saying that an immigrant community comes in, and that's the reason why we have more crimes.
The fact is that there is lots of data out there that shows quite clearly that newcomers to the country are far less likely to commit a violent crime than born and raised Canadians. And it's not me saying it, that's the actual stats. So people can like that or they can hate me for saying it, but that's the actual numbers.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And there have been various studies done in the U.S. where they say that, in fact, people want to move into immigrant communities because it increases the education standards and there's less crime, like you said. So, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, you know, so she also stereotyped us women, saying that we can't go outside without men. We are not allowed to mingle with the men. Now, that's extremely problematic, extremely. And that is because you probably would go into a clinic and have a female doctor. There are so many pediatricians in St. John's that are female pediatrics and gynacs. You know, we have doctors and nurses and teachers who are Muslim. So to categorize us and to, you know, just put us in that regressive mentality of box is unfair to the efforts of all the Muslim women across who are striving and making a difference. As a Muslim woman, and I am the first Muslim woman to be ever elected in Newfoundland and Labrador for any electoral office. I am extremely proud of Wabush because as having almost 100% white population or Anglo-Saxon population, they chose not to look at my color, not to look at my faith, and voted for me. And I'm extremely proud of that. And I want to let people know that a lot of women, especially Muslim women, are doing great things. So that is a very false narrative. Now, you know, like any other country, any other culture, any other people, we have good and bad people. We'll always have that. no matter where you go. But to label us all across as being extremist and bringing Sharia law and encouraging those fear and phobia and fear-mongering is not going to lead us anywhere. So to all your viewers who are listening, if you don't know a Muslim family, I invite you to know one, because you'll get good food. B, you will get to know that most of these people are the kindest people, the most welcoming people you will ever come across. Yep.
Across the landscape of men, women, different backgrounds of faith and countries of origin, we of course know exactly what you said, is that there will be bad people from all walks of life. But to generalize and stereotype everybody as being that bad person because of one headline, one event, one attack, is just really kind of dominates a lot of people's thoughts, as opposed to, a little bit more critical thinking that not everybody is that way. Not every priest is a pedophile. Not everybody questioning Israel is an anti-Semite. Not everyone talking Free Palestine is a member of Hamas. We've just got to do a better job talking about things from a realistic standpoint, as opposed to something that stirs up fear or evokes emotion or grabs a headline or things like that, because that's really where a lot of conversations have gone. Public discourse has really changed. Even in the short time I've been on this show, actually not a short time, it's almost 15 years, things have really changed in how some of these big life issues get discussed. Some of it, I think, can be drawn, not maybe a direct line, but a very squiggly line right to social media, because when people live in an echo chamber, that's how they're going to think. And that's kind of human nature. The brain and the eyes and the ears and the heart are easily fooled.
Yes, true. And social media has played a very detrimental role in encouraging these kind of fears that people have. We have a declining population, and we need immigrants to come here and grow our economy. We need them, and they need us. This is a mutual relationship that we are going into. There's nobody coming in to take your jobs. They are actually working in your service industries so that we, as Newfoundlanders and Canadians and Labradorians, can enjoy those things that we are enjoying. Those are low-paying jobs, and those are, most people don't generally want to go into it's a good starting point, but most people don't want to stay in that role for long. They want to move ahead of the ladder, up on the ladder. And therefore, those jobs need to be done by somebody. And therefore, people coming in. And as you rightly pointed out, there are people coming in fleeing war, fleeing repressive regimes. So we can't just, say that we don't want these people. We want these people because that's how our economy will grow.
Just a couple of quick ones, because I really do have to go. Things like comments about Canadian values and assimilation, and whether it be support for the LGBT community, and whether or not they're welcome in the mosque, and the socialization with Canadians who are white or from different ethnic backgrounds beyond from a Muslim country. There's Muslim countries on the face of the earth that are predominantly Muslim, but they're not governed by Sharia law. So I think there's just maybe some misinformation or confusion out there about some of these things. So what do you say if someone says, well, what about a newcomer who's a Muslim or a Hindu from India and Canadian values and things like protection of rights for women, protection of rights for people who are members of the LGBT community? How do you answer those questions if and when questions like that are posed to you?
So those questions, and from my own personal experience, I'll just talk about that. Here in Labrador, we have a good Indian community, and we are extremely good with each other. We have get-togethers together. We have potlucks together. They come in for our Eid celebrations. We go there for the Diwali celebrations. So, it's only a matter of you making that effort, because sometimes, what happens is, as a newcomer, there's so many things going on. There's so many issues that you're dealing with that, trying to fit in to your in your head, the idea of what cultural assimilation looks like might not be, the priority for them. For them, the priority might be, okay, getting the job, getting a car, getting a house, getting their kids into schools, and, making life affordable for themselves. So for those people who do not know enough about immigrants, go out, volunteer with organizations that work with immigrants, like your Association for New Canadians and others, and get to know these immigrants before making a blanket judgment.
I really appreciate your time and the email that you sent along. And I will say this live on the air, it was part of the email exchange we had, is, I'm told in different corners when calls like that yesterday is, cut them off or shut them down, or look, I don't know what the right way to do this program is, even though I've been doing it a very long time. I choose to engage in hopeful conversations versus just an attempt to put people in their place or to cut them down or to shut them out or whatever. I don't know if that's right or wrong. It's the way I've chosen to do it. It gets me in some hot water sometimes, but I just feel if this is a show where everybody who has a different opinion than mine gets shut down or denied access to the program, then I'm doing a disservice to the show, to the station, and myself. So, but I appreciate you making time for the show, and you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Take good care. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's tough racket. All right, let's take a break. Welcome back to the show. We're so close to the news break that I don't want to shortchange any of the callers in the queue, including Adam wants to talk a bit of fixed link. There's another call we'd like to respond to, one of the calls we had yesterday, something about the Outer Ring Road and one of the off-ramps, and then an issue with someone having a problem getting home, flying home. We do know that there's some potential flight disruptions in the offing if and when Air Canada can't reach a deal with their flight attendants, which is something I haven't been following very closely. But on another topic regarding union relations, maybe I just missed it. What has been the outcome of the Canada Post ordeal? Because I know they were forced to vote on it, which is also fairly problematic if you're in the organised labour world or a unionised employee to be told, because we've seen many examples of it, right? People legislated back to work or working at the ports, people legislated back to work who are working on the rail, and now forced votes coming from the actual labour minister at the federal level. So if someone can fill me on Canada Post, I've kind of lost track of where we are on that one. All right, let's see here. The numbers to dial if you're interested in getting on the show, 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888 590-VOCM, which is 8626. We're taking a break and then we're coming back.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. Good morning, Jen. You're on the air.
Oh, hi, Patty. Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to call in because I'm a big theater aficionado, as you know, and there's lots on the go in the province this weekend. Wanted to just chat with you a little bit about it, but also I've got 4 tickets to tomorrow's Come From Away performance at 2 o'clock in Gander that I've got one of those damn summer colds that's turned into bronchitis, and I can't go. My family doesn't want to go out without me, and I figured, gee, it might be a nice pay it forward if maybe one of your listeners would like to use them for free. So if they want to call in, I'm happy to connect with somebody.
I think Jack Daly and his girlfriend Abigail would like to.
Well, there you go. That would be lovely. Anybody who would like to have them, I'm happy to pay them forward at no cost because it's such a beautiful show and I'm rotted I can't go.
It really is. Sometimes, how do I couch this? Sometimes things that are produced that are inherently newfie, I know people hate that word, including me sometimes, but Come From Away is endearing. It's lovely. It really, truly is. I enjoyed it immensely.
It's inspiring, exactly, right? And this is a whole new production than what you can see on Apple TV. Like, it's Jill Kiley and the local team here have just, really knocked it out of the park. So it's just an experience. And, tickets aren't cheap. So, I'm very happy to, pay it forward and see if somebody wants to use them. So
good on you, Jen. You can count those tickets as gone.
Okay, good. So what I'm going to say, though, to you is people in St. John's and the Avalon Peninsula, though, give me a chance to pump some of the local things. I am the chair of the Shakespeare by the Sea Festival, and we are closing our 33rd annual season today. We have a show out in Perchance this afternoon. It's a kids show called Bottom the Weaver. It's happening at 1 o'clock. And because of the air quality conditions, the wonderful folks at Perchance have moved that inside in the Marion Hall. So folks can head out for that. As well, our final Shakespeare show is closing tonight. We perform The Merry Wives of Windsor for the very last time at 6 o'clock outdoors on the deck of the Alt Hotel, which is an absolutely gorgeous venue overlooking the harbor. And it's the first time we've had a bar set up for intermission. So I love that show. Not least of which is because my husband's in it too, and he's very funny. And then, of course, Perchance Theatre also has their show Every Brilliant Thing on tonight at 6 o'clock as well. They're also putting that one inside the Marion Hall. And while you're out in Conception Bay, in that area, Cupid's actually has a free show on at the Legacy Center. It's called A Place to Call Home, Living Heritage at Cupid's. That is sort of a historical interpretation show, but it's written by Trudy Morgan Cole, directed by Sharon King Campbell, stars some amazing professional actors, and that goes on Wednesdays to Sundays, 3 times a day at 11, 1, and 3 o'clock until Labor Day weekend. And that's at the Cupid's Legacy Center for free.
Lovely. That's to be at.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Patty.
Happy to do it. Jen, Dave wants me to put you on hold for a second, and you'll speak with David here now a second. Is that okay? There we go. Dave's got her. Let's keep going. Line number 6. Mary, you're on the air.
Hi, Patty. How are you?
Great today. Thanks. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, Patty, I just have major concerns about the Gushy Avenue, the Gushy Highway and off-ramp Briar Avenue that comes down over that hill. And apparently the excess from to get back to go out to the lights on Columbus Drive there, it's impossible from New Pennymill Road, that's where I live, and Old Pennymill Road. The lineup of cars in the morning and off workers' times in the afternoon is crazy. You're waiting at least 20 to 40 minutes to try to get out because people block the excess of the road. They don't know enough to let the people get out onto the road so they can have a chance to go where they're going. They just go right across the excess from Pennymill Road and Old Pennymill Road. Now, right now, there's a crosswalk, but that was put there a couple of years ago because my brother called in, very concerned that someone was going to get killed there, the way they come down over that hill. But really what they need there is a traffic light in order to hold the traffic back just for a little while so people can get in and out of those 2 exits to get to Columbia's Drive. And that's my concern, Patty.
I've been there. It is a particularly possibly dangerous area. It really feels that way, no doubt about it.
Yeah. The way they come down over that hill, you swear that they're on the 401 in Ontario. It's crazy. I've been up there, and that's a little crazy, too. Yeah, so I'm just hoping that someone with authority or power can look at that and reassess it because they really need a traffic light there. And, so that's my concern, Patty.
I think you're right, and I appreciate you making time for the show, Mary. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
The very same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, let's keep rolling there. That's a good one. Mary, let's go to line number 2. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. I'm calling. I'm very upset and disappointed. Apparently now I have to come back and forth in St. John's to see a doctor and have tests done and scan tests done. Now, each time I come in, it costs me $130 for the taxi to come in and go back, plus my meals while I'm in there, plus my room, pay for my room. Now, the doctor told me that I lost over 20 pounds in less than 3 months. Now I'm down to 112 pounds. Now, my son is in Alberta, so he called me. He said, Mom, you're very sick. I'm going to have to come home. He said, to see you. So anyway, Tuesday, he called me. He said, Mom, I got a flight booked for Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. I'll arrive in St. John's, he said, 7 o'clock Wednesday morning. He said, I'll be there time enough to go to your appointment with you. Now, I have to come to St. John's the day before my appointment in order to be in time enough for my appointment. So I said, okay, my darling. So what I did before I come in, like I'm staying down at the extended stay. So I booked the room for to have 2 beds, which was fine. So I waited and waited and waited Thursday morning because he said he was going to get in around 7 o'clock. So I waited and waited and waited. So I had to go on to my doctor's appointment because I would miss my appointment. Now, while I was down to my doctor's appointment, my son called me. I said, oh, my darling. I said, I guess you're out to the airport because Mom had to come on because I would miss my appointment. No, Mom. He said, I'm still in Alberta. I said, what? He said, yes. He said, I went down to the airport and they won't let me board the plane. I said, why not? He said, Mom, he said, my license expired in May month, and I went to get my license renewed, and he said, the motor registration, give me a temporary license until I get the original one come, which was fine. So he went to the airport, and he passed all the things into this, and apparently they wouldn't accept it, so he couldn't come. Now, I'm in there, like, I don't know who to turn to or what to do. So, like, I had to come in there Wednesday for, like I said, for Thursday morning to get my appointment. So now I'm in there since Wednesday. Now, every time I come in, there's $130 for the taxi, plus I'm in there, I have to pay for the room, plus I have to get my meals. So now I'm in there, and I don't know what to do or who to turn to. I mean, are the airlines allowed to do that when the motor registration given the paper, which was a temporary license until he gets his original come?
I guess technically they are. So he has, I mean, you can get a government ID for a motor vehicle that's not a driver's license, because some people don't have a photo ID if they don't have a driver's license, but you can get a piece of identification for a motor vehicle. But you're telling me that the airline would not accept that?
No, they won't accept that. They said that they need his driver's license. He said, this is my temporary driver's license. The motor registration said this was good until I get my original one come. So he said, I went to the airport with the intention that this was good because the motor registration said it was good until I get the original. But then the airlines wouldn't accept it. So he had missed his flight. Now I'm down here at the extended stay ever since Wednesday. Now, I had to book a room for 2 beds, so because he said his flight was 9 o'clock in the night, and he would arrive yesterday morning, 7 o'clock in town. So I had to get a room with 2 beds. Now, I'm down there paying for the room ever since Wednesday with 2 beds, as pay for a taxi to go back and forth to my appointment, which yesterday it cost me $43 to go to my on Newfoundland Drive and back here extend the stay. $21 to go down, then was $22 or $23 or something to come back. Plus I'm paying for all my meals while I'm in there. I just don't know what to do or who to turn to.
Yeah, insofar as I don't know, insofar as your son's predicament trying to fly home, I mean, it's too late to file some sort of passenger bill or rights complaint because there are some technical issues regarding identification to get on an aircraft. But I honestly thought that license, temporary license for motor vehicle was good enough. I really, truly did. In fact, I've told people in the past, you can get a photo ID for motor vehicle that is not a driver's license, because sometimes people just simply need a photo ID. Anything else you'd like to say this morning before they flag me off here?
No, sir. It's just that, like I said, I want to let to know the public everything that's going on, and the circumstances that I'm in. I'm really hurting. I'm waiting there now to get the answer back from my son that everything was okay and he'd be coming. So I don't want to go home and pay another $130 for me to go home and come back.
I'm sure you don't. So I guess the only thing you can do is wait and see if there's some definitive confirmation from your son that he absolutely cannot get on the aircraft, or all of a sudden something has worked out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and fingers crossed. Let me know, and if anybody here has anything wiser to offer than me, if they tell me, we'll give you a shout back. How's that?
Okay, sir. I appreciate that.
I wish you good luck.
Like I said, I appreciate that, but I just want to let the public know exactly what the airlines is doing to them.
Yes, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. I wish you good luck with your health and for your son's travel.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, bye-bye. All right, oops, that was a bit quick. Final break of the week. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 5. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi there, Paddy. I don't get the opportunity to listen to your show live every day, but I do enjoy going on the next day and listening to your preamble. And I happened to hear your caller yesterday regarding the Muslim community. And I sat here in my office, for a half hour or so, couldn't really focus on my work. And I thought, I really need to make a call here into the show and give a little bit of my perspective and how I've dealt with people of many different communities, immigrant communities here in St. John's. I work for a large construction company, and over the past 3 years, I've also worked with the Association for New Canadians in a training program that trains newcomers in the construction industry. And we've had over 300 people go through that program, men, women, all different ages. And personally, I've hired over 30 graduates of that program. And what I've seen has been an absolute transformation, not only for our new employees, but for our existing employees. We are seeing friendships that are being made with Muslims and Ukrainians and many different countries with our current employees. Good friendships where you'll see one of our workers has a place in Bonavista, taking Ukrainian, and they're heading out and doing fishing trips and things like that. We have newcomers that are looking for apartments, and our workers are helping them with that. A young man from Afghanistan, our supervisor, helped him get a new car, and they're so appreciative of that. We see that when others, whether it be Newfoundlanders or other new Canadians, when someone is in need, everyone is supporting each other. We had an employee that had a house fire, and to see fairly significant contributions from other workers who are just trying to get by here in Newfoundland contribute to that. Another worker unfortunately lost his daughter, who was home in Ukraine and was killed by a Russian bomb. And we all pitched together to send money to the family in Ukraine to help them through that. So to hear somebody come online and put a whole group of people with, while the beginning of the conversation said, well, I'm not Islamophobic, I'm not racist, but then to say all of these things that really are contrary to that, because they are hurtful to new Canadians that are here and listening to that. Paddy, I think it's fair. I think it's an unconscious bias. I think it's that caller probably doesn't know a Muslim person. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. If she has ever met or engages with or is friends with a Muslim person, I really don't know, to be honest with you. For me, it just, and I don't want to pick on this lady either, it just really feels like some of those stereotypes, they're just so easily adapted or adopted by some folks without going that extra step, whether it be to engage directly with the mosque insofar as who can visit and who cannot, insofar as talking with the Association for New Canadians, talking with the Muslim Association about some of the questions or concerns that you have. I mean, that's the type of thing that I think if people take that extra step, then some of those concerns that they may have might be alleviated. And I mean, just even the fundamentals of Muslims want to take over the world, some of them probably do. But if that was the case across the majority of Muslims, that would have already happened. There's like 1.4, 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. So if that was their long intended goal, of which they've been practicing the faith for centuries, then I think we probably would have seen a lot more of the nefarious that the lady referred to.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get to know, people that are from a different background than you, it kind of opens your eyes. Like one of our workers, him and his family was on one of the last planes to get out of Afghanistan. And when you hear that story firsthand from somebody like that and what they've gone through and how hard they're working here in Newfoundland. We have employees that are working 50 hours a week and then working downtown at a restaurant on the weekends, all to send money back to family members. So it's, you hate to throw that racism word around, because I don't think it is. Newfoundlanders are loving people. I think it's more that they're a little afraid and they don't know. And like you said, I really wish that more people would get to know somebody that is not the same color as them, and to be involved. Like, we've had workers invited me to their engagement party, and Eid celebrations, and very much integrated with our Newfoundland community, and they love it here, and it's a very safe space to raise their family. And I'm so sad to hear, comments like that. I hope most people don't think that way, and I hope just hearing a story like that, and my perspective, maybe can make some people think twice about going down that road.
And I appreciate you sharing that. You've had the last word this morning. Thanks for calling.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, very quickly before we go, there's a Shriners Parade tomorrow, 2 p.m. in Gander. We didn't get a chance to get Jeff on the show. All right, big thanks to all hands. And yes, we will indeed pick up this conversation again on Monday morning, right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer, David Williams, I'm your host, Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy weekend. Talk Monday. Bye-bye.